Okay, and you're listening to Hashem's podcast. This afternoon, for the second time in a row, we have another artist from the Netherlands. We had Frauke earlier on from Utrecht, and now we have Anna Trombetta all the way from Amsterdam. And it's 4 p.m. in Amsterdam, so it's similar time to where I am in Cairo. So let me give you a little background of Anna before she takes off on her journey and how she began. So Anna Trombetta's work ranges from the early Baroque to the newest of works written for her. She's been described as powerful, pearly voice. In the United States, she has premiered with the Center for Contemporary Opera to be sung, Giuseppin, Atlantic Music Festival as Dorabella in Così fan tutte, and Opera Neo as Ramiro in a North American premiere of the Prague version of La Finta Giardiniera. In Europe, where she is currently based in Amsterdam, she appears regularly with renowned contemporary ensemble ASCO, Schönberg, and was part of the world premiere of the Alexander Raskatov's Animal at the Dutch National Opera in 2023 and the Vienna State Opera in 2024. In 2023, she covered the role of Kitty Oppenheimer in John Adams' opera, Dr. Atomic, produced by Lustrum Opera. With pianist Konrad Scheiker, she explores new music and art, song, and participates regularly in masterclasses throughout Europe. She has had the privilege of singing in masterclasses led by Joyce Did Onato, Roberto Alexander, Ellie Ameling, Thomas Allemans, and Gerald Finley, and she also has her own vlog opera. Anna, enough of me talking. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
It's quite a CV there. It goes on and on and on, so I won't talk much longer. Can you talk us through how you began in opera and your voice type, which is a mezzo soprano? I'll let you just let us know how it all began for you, and was the start easy or was it difficult? And just talk us through all the different parts of your history.
Sure. So to talk about a little bit how I fell in love with opera, I started out with a really let's call it bad conception or difficult conception of what opera is. I used to hear it. My dad would play it on Sunday mornings, and I would still be trying to sleep, so it would wake me up, and I would just think, okay, who the heck is this? Who are these people that are just screaming, and why are you playing it at 9 o'clock in the morning? And it was only when I went to my first opera in Houston, where I'm actually from, Houston, Texas, Verdi's Rigoletto, that I really discovered the magic of opera and was completely swept up in the story. And I was already singing from when I was about 3. I was already very much involved in singing in the church and at school in the school choir. And so I went to the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts in Houston, where they really nurtured this classical side. So the first thing that I sang there was Caro mio ben from the 24 Italian Songs and Arias book, which every singer on the planet has in their closet somewhere.
Yep.
And it kind of rolled from there. When I moved to the Netherlands, I started studying at the conservatory and their sort of young talent thing. And it seemed to go very easily in the sense that, I got really good feedback and I didn't have trouble progressing. Except for when I started my bachelor's, really started to get into full-time study and was just guessing at how to do that. I ended up developing a cyst on my cords and having to deal with that for about basically my entire bachelor. So in that sense, it was very difficult to find my voice and to understand what it was. And I was actually studying as a soprano at that time. And it wasn't until I can't remember, after I graduated, that I switched to mezzo.
Okay,
Um,
and that's a really important point because our last opera singer, Robert McFarlane from Australia, He was, diagnosed as a tenor straight away on in
Mm,
his life. There's a lot of bad vocal teachers or coaches that don't know how to, sort of tell you what voice type you are. They sort of force
yeah.
you into a certain type,
Yeah.
depending on the knowledge they have or what they know about music or what they know about the tessitura. So, what happened with you? Because I touched this point a lot because I struggled with that. Because when I started, everyone said, "Okay, you're a bass," and basses are expected to sing from octave two, E2, to E4 very easily. And a lot of the
Mm,
arias are usually in the fourth octave, the middle range in the fourth
yeah.
octave. And then I realized later on I'm a bass profundo, which can't really do the D and the E
The
in
high
the
things, yeah.
fourth octave, and that's most of the arias. And I struggle with that. And a lot of the teachers will start playing the vocalise from, the third, and they'll move on to five sometimes. And that was a real struggle for me. So, what happened with you, the soprano, and then the switch back to the mezzo?
Yeah. Um, so that also really had to do with what I wanted to sing. So I think this question of Fach has a lot of, so vocal category has a lot to do with different aspects. There's what you as the singer would like to sing. Especially when you get into the range of like, well, you could be this, you could be this, you could be this. So what you like to sing, what fits your temperament, what where your voice has the most color and the most flexibility. I really wanted to be a high soprano. I wanted to be like Olympia, just these crazy gymnastics, let's say, in the high tessitura. So I and basically every young singer, unless it's very, or young female singer, unless it's very obvious that they have a low voice and they cannot get into the high, basically above the staff at all, will be categorized as a light lyric, almost basically soubrette. I don't think I saw anyone come through there who wasn't automatically classified as a soubrette. And I was fine with that. I didn't have very easy high notes, to be honest. I had a lot of power like going up into the higher register, but as soon as we got to like G sharp A, I had no idea what I was doing, and it just became very thin and yeah, shrill. And my teacher really didn't know how to teach me that. She really didn't know what she was doing, to be quite honest. And, she could teach me some breath work and all that type of thing. So the voice developed, but it never took on this high quality, even though I was desperate for that to happen. And it was only when I started working with someone who just completely, I mean, his way of working was just completely different. He had an actual technique that he set into place. He taught a lot more about accessing your breath, and he also really taught me how to be an artist and connect to my body, both physically and emotionally. And that brought the voice way down. So it really like settled into my body. And since then, both with him and with successive teachers, so the teacher I work with now, are continuing to do that because the voice just continues to settle down and get more color in the middle range. And funnily enough, then the higher notes get easier. So the question of like, I'm one of those people who doesn't very easily fit into a category. So I call myself a high mezzo because I'm not gonna be like an omnatus or something super low mezzo, like heavy rolls with a big orchestra. But I am not comfortable in a higher tessitura for a very long time. So I prefer to classify myself as a mezzo who has a bit of this extension. So a lyric mezzo will be asked to go up to a high C quite regularly. So it needs to be there. But I don't want to sit there forever, like Pamina, for example, who needs to float in the top register. I don't want to be doing that. And maybe that will come one day, and then I say, okay, well, we'll see that. I mean, the voice is also taking on a lot more richness and a lot more weight, as it were. So over the years you can also just develop into other fach. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
all
that's a
these
bit how
terms
what
like
I mean.
yeah, fantastic. All these terms like weight, development, breath support. What are
Hmm.
we actually saying? Because I know you did a masterclass with the famous Joyce, and she
Yeah.
always talks about the importance of body and anatomy. Very, very
Hmm.
important.
Hmm.
Because there's a way to teach which is very holistic and it sounds nice, but we don't actually know what it means because we need to know exactly what's happening internally in our body, how to stand, how to work on the pelvis and the appoggio. And
Hmm.
so what when you say developing or all these terms, what's actually developing? Are we developing stronger tissue in our resonators, nasal resonators in our mask area? Are we getting a stronger diaphragm? Is our back getting more muscly? What's actually happening physically
That's
to
a
cause
very
that?
good question. And I could not tell you exactly what's happening as the voice develops, as it were. I do know that as the more we study, the more we're going to have more efficiency in the voice. So be able to be freer in the sound. So like we can have better breath control. We are able to communicate more easily through the voice. So be able to connect to ourselves as artists and really have more emotion in the voice. And everything, it's so hard to explain, really. Um, I would say to make one sentence out of the explanation, we continue to become more efficient with the way that we sing. So we are able to access more of our breath. We are able to understand slightly differently what a teacher 5 years ago said or something that happened 2 weeks ago. And in my own case, I really feel that the voice, I feel like my voice understands more clearly what I want. So you have this idea of what you want to hear, and sometimes the voice does it and sometimes it doesn't. But the more that I develop, or the more that I understand how breath support works and how what my tongue is doing or whatever it is, the more that I actually can translate that, or the closer actually I get to what I want to hear, the output that I want based on the input that I give myself.
Yep.
So I think there's also a lot of things in terms of, skeletal tissue, how our faces change as we get older, how any weight that we put on, if you are pregnant and you have a baby, like the voice tends to drop and also puts on weight, as it were. It really just, there is more resonance to be used, and we translate that as weight or really volume and richness.
Yep.
Um,
What
yeah.
about some sopranos or tenors that say do not sing in the mask, even though we said sing up here the whole time.
Yeah.
Some musicians, singers say it's not in the mask, it's somewhere else. And that actually helped me because I was trying to get it up here in the mask and I didn't even know where the mask was. Is
Right.
it up here? Is it an actual mask up here?
Yeah.
Um, for me, what I came to discover is I did quick research after many, many years of struggle, and I found for me the biggest resonator, the first resonator that needs to work is the pharynx, which is basically the
Hmm.
little river that provides all the resonance for all the other stuff. So if the pharynx isn't working, all the other stuff's not going to work. So for me, it was the pharynx, number one, and then number
Yeah.
two is the mouth area,
Yeah.
and then number three is the nasal area, and then the larynx is the last thing. So the pharynx, the mouth, for me anyway, the
Yeah.
nasal, and then stay away from here. Even though the vocal folds are here, they're tucked away in the larynx. All I need to think about here is to tilt the
Hmm.
larynx with the oo valve,
Hmm.
and then when I do that, this part here opens. The
Hmm.
pharynx allows the resonance to come in here, and then it's all just for me, that's how I figured it out,
Right.
and it worked. Yeah.
No, I think this idea of singing into the mask is a very misplaced idea of technique. I don't thankfully I never really had a teacher that was very adamant about like singing to the mask, singing to the mask. Um, for me,
Because sorry, how do
yeah.
you get to the mask? Like, how do you how does the pressure go up this way, or does it go from the back? You know, and I realize
Right.
it comes
I
from the
think
back. Yeah.
exactly. What is that? Like, what do you mean? There's nothing here. And for me, the sensation that people are feeling when they talk about singing into the mask is what I've come to understand from my own study is it's a complementary resonance. So it's not something that you can turn on. It happens because you're doing something else. So for you, that discovery came from really focusing more on the pharynx and
It
opening
was actually
there.
Thomas Hampson, yeah, one of his master
Oh
classes. He
wow.
said the pharynx needs to stay open, and it stays open by not opening your mouth too much. Because if you open it too much, you're actually closing that part.
Right, exactly. Then
It
you close
needs,
it again. Exactly.
yeah,
And so what really started to work for me was what I mentioned earlier about settling more into my body. So my first teacher was very like incredibly obsessed with like the back space. So she would always ask me to have it, think of it back here and like it's light. And because I was trying to take up too much of my voice, too much weight, as it were, into the top of the top registers. And so the more I actually think about the resonance, as it were, being my body and there and like really starting with the torso, almost nothing. I really don't even think about anything here, as it were, really specifically. I think about staying in my body, like allowing the voice to be, or the breath really to carry the voice from the lowest possible point,
yeah,
and the rest honestly, like it
just
tends to
happens.
sort itself out. Right, exactly.
Well, that's
And
the
it
old
can,
Italian singers. I think Corelli was one of the. Corelli would say, "Cut the head off. You don't need the head. It's all
yeah.
happening down here. You know, it
Yeah,
all."
I mean,
Yeah,
when I discovered I mean it's a continual discovery and each teacher brings me something new. So when I discovered with my teacher of the past, I want to say 4 or 5 years, she really explained breath support to me in a way that I had not thought about before, but every single description of the diaphragm that I had read and how breath support works and sending your air and really like allowing the diaphragm to work for you finally fell into place. So I was very much used to kind of like setting everything up and then trying to stay there, which at the time when I first learned it, it was different from what I had been doing before. So it brought me something else, but it meant that after a while, my voice was really stuck. And finally, when I learned how to move my air and to really use my diaphragm in a proper way, then everything else kind of settled out. And that was, if you have work that you've done on the vowels and you're not forcing everything too far back, so that's something that will take away that mask resonance, is if you're really trying to like talk into the back of your head and then you get this really like muffled sound and it doesn't go anywhere. And I think a lot of people are really focused on this space in the back, really focused in the back of the head because they think it'll give them a richness to the voice, which is not untrue, but as soon as you do that and stop thinking about actually saying the words, then you lose the mask and you lose anything that will actually A, make you understandable, and B, send your voice into into the actual theater. And that's that balance that we're continuously trying to perfect, as it were, the chiaroscuro. Yeah. So that's how I feel about the mask. I don't think about it. I think it's very much a secondary resonance that occurs and not something that we have to focus on specifically.
yeah. It's a little bit like driving a manual car, isn't it? It's like you need to look in the mirror. You need to hold on the steering wheel, look on the side mirrors, use the clutch, use the gas or the petrol, as we say, and then the gear stick. And sometimes you hold the gear stick and you forget to look in the mirror, and then you have an accident. Or you hold on the steering wheel, but you forget to press on the clutch. That's how it was for me. To
Right.
to
Yeah,
make
if
it
you're
the whole
focusing,
mechanism work. Yeah,
yeah, if you're focusing too much on one thing, you're gonna forget something else, and
yeah,
that's a lot of the voice, yeah. And eventually, I mean, you do have to take specific things out and focus on them for a second. But I
yeah.
think, yeah, this obsession with the mask is we need to let that die. We need to
It
focus
can
on
it,
something else.
it can be limiting, yeah, because
Yeah.
if you get stuck especially here, you can't do a lot of the right ways of singing if it's just stuck here. Definitely, that's what I
Yeah.
found. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about some of your favorite operas, the ones you've come off and you're just like, yep, I did really, really well. I'm really, really good at this. This is the part for me. So in terms of
Ooh.
composers, who's your favorite composer? Who do you feel wrote the aria for you?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I mean, I have composers that I love to listen to, but that I will never, unfortunately, sing. And of course, I have composers that I love to sing. So, I mean, my really first love that I thought I would sing one day was Tosca. I just completely went head over heels for Visidarte, and I wanted to sing Tosca so bad. But alas, my voice probably will never do that. Um, yeah, oh, gosh, who's my favorite composer to sing? So my favorite aria to sing, because I think it just brings me so much freedom and playfulness. I can really play with it forever and find something new, is Noble Seigneur Salut. It is a piece that I bring to every single audition. It's what I start with. From Giacomo Meyerbeer. It's from his opera Les Huguenots, which is unfortunately not perform. I have never seen it programmed. There are recordings of it online, but I think he just has a yeah, he just allows so much space for the singer. And the same goes for Rossini. So the element of playfulness and freedom that you can bring into your own interpretation by literally writing something that you want to do yourself is really cool. I also really get off on Handel. I would love to sing Sesto one day, from Giulio Cesare. Not the Mozart one, although that would be fun too. Um, but I think
Have you sang Messiah in church choirs?
I have not, no. No, we
Okay.
never did anything that complicated in the church choir that I was in when I was quite young.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, Handel, really anything Handel. I was in a production of Ariodante because I was so at Opera Neo, I was doing Ramiro and La Finta Giardiniera, but then I was also in the choir of Ariodante. And Handel just has, it's just heart-wrenching the way he writes for the voice and allows you to, I'm thinking specifically of Scherza in Fida, for example, from Ariodante, the way he can just get to the core of an emotion and also be so fun at the same time. So like the beginning of Ariodante is one of my favorite beginnings of anything that he's written. So I'm all over the place. And also, not to be forgotten, I literally yesterday filmed a video about this opera. Um, is a contemporary piece called Dr. Atomic. So that was in my bio by John Adams. And I think Adams is just, I mean, I'm not alone in thinking this. This is not a revolutionary idea, but I think he is a composer for the history books. He understands the, he knows, he has this sort of like weird sixth sense about themes for his opera. So he manages to pick something that is incredibly relevant and then put it on stage in a really timeless way. So as an American, am also very attached to this idea of, okay, this historical figure from America, and like a lot of it is very American centric, but looking at the arias that he writes. So Batter My Heart, for example, is a baritone aria from this opera. Am I in Your Light by Kitty Oppenheimer. They all have such timeless themes and something that is can yeah really gets to the core of human emotion. and I could listen to Dr. Atomic all day. It is one of my favorite operas. I think it's a banger. I want someone to sample some of the orchestral parts, the finales of Act Two, for example. Like it's just I want someone to sample it and then we turn it into a rave song, and I can just dance to it or whatever. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. You bring so much passion and life to talking about opera. So, and you've also done that with your vlog, Opera Anna, and it's all about bringing the understanding of opera and the light side of opera, and also
Mhm.
intricate stories of opera singers that we never knew. I mean, I got onto your channel when you were talking about Maria Callas, something I never knew about, even though I obsessed over her as a young singer. You bringing in these little intricate and themes in their lives. So tell us a little bit more about the beginning of Opera Anna, and what do you hope to achieve
Ooh.
with it?
Ooh, I love this question. So the beginnings of Opera Anna, well, the original idea sat in my head for about 4 years before I got the courage to actually try. Because it was a way of putting myself out there that I was yeah, was very scary. And I had to learn a lot of new skills. I had to teach myself how to edit. I didn't know anything about filming myself. I felt very uncomfortable at first. And it started as an idea to look at arias, to look at opera arias and kind of explain as a singer what's going on and try to make it a little bit fun. Bring in memes and just bring in a sort of levity that I didn't see anywhere else on the platform. And the Instagram of Opera Anna was kind of a secondary idea. I thought, well, let me have an Instagram to kind of support the YouTube and bring people from Instagram to YouTube as a kind of funnel. And all of a sudden, the Instagram started to take on a life of its own. And I there's there's different things that I can explore with each platform. So on Instagram, these little I just call them singer histories or singer deep dives, um, short deep dives, really. They're one of my favorite formats to do because I just go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole that I can find and learn as much as I can about the singer until I think, okay, let me let me pick out little things that I've learned and try to bring this to other people. Um, and that idea of what is it? The research part of Opera Anna is something that I was always doing at conservatory. So I was researching the opera as a whole and trying to learn as much as I could about the origins, the composer, what was going on, which I think any singer should be doing regardless. But I would get a little carried away with it. And at a certain point, at least for one of the arias that I was studying, my teacher eventually was like, okay, but you also actually have to study the music, right? I would come in and just start gushing about everything that I had learned. And she was like, okay, but we need to work on it now. So it's kind of interesting how that has developed. And where I'd like to go with it is there's a couple different ideas. I think it can be much bigger than it is right now, much more consistent, actually, because it is incredibly time consuming, especially the YouTube Aria Explained videos that I do. Um, but I really see it being, your kind of big sister, best friend that you go to when you want to learn about when you have a question about opera. So it's very how do you say that? Unpretentious and doesn't assume anything about your knowledge. If I mention what if I have a term or something or a musical term or an opera term that I think maybe people don't know what this means, I'll put it on the screen so that no one feels lost. Um, I have done a couple interviews in the past few months that I thought were really interesting and really added something to the aria that I was looking at or the opera that I was looking at. So that's really something that I'd like to add. I would love to add a sort of podcast format that talks about the industry. So that would really be more for singers themselves to kind of just get into kind of the nitty gritty of being an opera singer. There's a lot of, not so nice things about finding your way through this life. So that is kind of where I would like to go with it. And I would like to be involved with it almost full time. That is sort of the dream.
Yeah, I think it's very generous of you. I mean, the opera world is kind of a secret society, isn't it? Our own little secret society. Everyone's paying so much money to get the education and the hard work
Yeah.
it takes to get an agent and travel all. And a lot of people don't want to give out information. They're like, I've
Mm,
studied so hard, I've gone through all the hard work, and I'm not going to share it for free.
yeah.
And that's what was one of the things that attracted me to your work. So let's move on to our last segment of the episode where we get a little bit of opera Anna here on our show. Let's talk about some terms, opera terms. So
Okay.
obviously, I like getting opera singers. Everyone's got their own
I'm
way of
ready.
describing it. So there's no right or
Okay.
wrong. Let's begin with legato. What is legato?
What is legato? Oh my goodness. Oof. What is legato? How do I say this
Le-
succinctly?
legato took me 4 years to string the phrases together, I guess. And we can sing a bit of Caro Muy Bien. That's what taught me legato, by the way, to keep the line
Really?
continuously. Yeah, yeah. That was the one that,
Ah,
and I was refusing to sing it because I thought like, oh, it's a student song, it's a student's aria. And then a friend of mine said, well, Pavarotti sung it also. And I'm like, really? He
yeah,
sung, and I looked it up and he sung it. And I said, okay, well, if he, then that's what actually fixed because I was
yeah.
singing in staccato the whole time.
Okay.
I just, instinctively, I just didn't want it to continue. I didn't want the phrase to keep going. But when I pick, when I got the line going, that continuous flow, like a bow and a violin,
Yeah.
it felt like I have this new world in here, and I just can keep flowing like a river. For me, that's what it was for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So legato is for me just, and this is really from recent in understanding, really feeling legato. So this continuous stream of marrying the voice to the air. With the introduction of consonants and
Oh, I
all
love
that
that. That's
gorgeous
brilliant.
stuff. Um, you know, the what is it? The art and really the magic of finding that stream, as you said, it really like it conjures up images of a river because is this it is this continuous thing that is interrupted, as it were, by the words or the consonants that form the words, but it really is this marriage of the voice and the breath that forms the legato, that forms this gorgeous line
Yeah.
that we're
It's
searching for.
it's
Yeah.
the line, and then we add the words on the line, and then the melody and the rhythm, and yeah.
Yeah.
It's a string. It's a very um holy string that we need to sing. Fantastic. Portamento.
Ooh. Okay. So I've just described portamento. Oof. Again, related to breath, because what a lot of people do when they think they're singing comportamento is really just a glissando. So they just kind of fall into the next note and sort of fill the space. But for me, a really beautiful portamento is something that also makes you aware of the breath ride. So either up or down, you're still again marrying the breath to the voice. It is one and the same. And mm, oh, how do you say that? Not transporting, that's not the right word. Really carrying the voice from one note to the other and showing that movement. Um, yeah, I think
That's
that's that's
that's
about as good as I can do.
that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Messa di voce, the big one. I was
Ugh,
told it was the most important thing. If you can't, if you know, it's all about the messa di voce. If you don't
yeah.
have that healthy middle range and you can't swell and expand and then contract again, like an accordion, basically, then
Yeah.
you can't sing opera.
Yeah, it's really what's interesting is that like unfortunately, I don't think in contemporary vocal studies we're really taught unless you have like a fantastic teacher who's totally tuned into all that stuff. No one is really coaching you or teaching you how to do a messa di voce itself, even though in like pedagogical books and vocal um exercise books of yesteryear, right? They are very, very adamant that you need to be able to perform a messa di voce because is it seems so simple, but it is so tied to everything that you need to be able to do. So just being able to come out of nothing, swell into the fullness of your voice without the air becoming unstable, without the vowel changing, without forcing anything, and then being able to come back off of it is really hard. And the actually, I think the hardest thing in that is learning how to sing piano because a lot of people when piano seems so simple, singing softly, well, I'll just give less voice. But less voice means that you're holding something back, which is not what we want to do. So
Yeah.
it it's
Less
just
voice, but remaining with a quality sound is not easy at all, is it? It's, you know, you could have less
Mhm.
voice and it just cracks. It turns into a broken
Exactly.
fry or something. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know how to define messa di voce.
That's great.
It's just a swell.
That was
But
fantastic. Yeah.
okay, great.
Let's move on to squillo, and that's an important one for sopranos and
Mm.
mezzo sopranos. It's everyone
So
really. Yeah.
yeah, I mean everyone. So squillo is the I like it's for me because in English it sounds like squeal. It gives this idea of like that of a pig, like, and it has this like very harsh, like shrill sound. But in essence, it is this razor sharp edge of the voice that will get you over the orchestra and get you to be heard at the back of the theater. And it's just that kind of, yeah, I like the idea of a knife's edge in the voice that is still pleasing because it's paired with the richness and the resonance that you have from your body and from everything else. So it's is very much related for me to the chiaroscuro idea. Um, yeah.
Do you know when you've sung in squealo? Like when I sing my low notes, I feel like I'm squealo, squealo, squealo. Wow, they can hear me from miles away. And then as soon as I get high, it gets a little bit I can't keep the timbre as consistent. And obviously the whole thing about covering the high notes, I feel like I lose my squealo when I go high. Do you feel that for yourself, or is it all the way through?
Um, yeah, I'm currently really searching for this like really embodied middle voice, lower middle voice that feels like you're just speaking. And at a certain point, that really the speaking quality should never leave. I think that Agnes Balza has a fantastic way of for me this I feel like she's just talking. Like the way that her voice is set up, it just sounds like she's talking all the time. And I don't think she loses that ever. So for me, I'm trying to find this speaking quality, but I also I feel like I get very opera singery after like really around a CDE on the staff to go into the higher register, and um I want to keep that almost speech-like quality. But that's also related to, I think, what my first teacher was telling me about, make it light and all this stuff and really
Yeah.
forcing me to come off the body. And I'm just still today trying to pull that back.
I think that really depends on voice type because when I started, looking at different vocal teachers, I worked with Michael Trimble from the States,
Mhm.
and he's a tenor, and he knows how to train a tenor. And he used to always
Yeah.
talk about the speaking quality when you sing. He's like, "Why are opera singers, doing all that? that no one talks that way. Why don't we just talk? And eventually the sound's going to go up. And I was trying to do that. I was trying to keep a small smile and get
Hmm.
the sound up. Oh, and it wasn't working for a bass. So I needed to open up a little bit more
Okay, yeah.
and not speak it because when I speak from my larynx as a
Yep.
bass because it's all heavy, it's all down here. But to bring it up, I need to work. I need a lot of, muscular work here to bring it up for it to go, get away from the larynx. So I definitely
Yeah.
think it depends on
So
voice type.
what I mean by speech-like quality is just this idea that the singing voice is not a separate entity from the speaking voice, right? It is still based in the foundations of everything that you do here. So I really try to think really like I'm gesturing towards my clavicle. Like everything is just at this level. And you're not going anywhere to try to like find your voice. And you'll hear Pavarotti talk about this as well in that like really famous interview that he did after a masterclass, I think at Juilliard, that he just says it's in the larynx. It's all this is the voice. It's not anywhere over here. Because as soon as you're going over here, then you're gonna be spacing too much, or you're not gonna be really like grounded in your foundation or really connected to your body at all. So that's what I mean when I say the speech-like quality is just staying in in your speech. When we talk, we're not traveling up here to start talking or whatever, and then getting very airy. Like some people might do that, but I I I have quite a low speaking voice, and I sit really in that chest resonance, and I
Yeah.
want to stay there. Yeah.
Okay, there's a couple more, but I know we're running out of time. So let's do
Sure.
vibrato and coloratura together. How's that? Can we just give a
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, vibrato. Ooh, very interesting. A lot of people say it is well, for me, it is a natural consequence of a free voice. It is for anyone who maybe doesn't actually know what it is the voice, the natural frequency of the voice as it reacts as a sound wave. It's really that undulation is because it's a sound wave, and that's just how that works. And as soon as you have allowed your voice to be as free as possible, then that comes into the voice. I really searched for it a lot because I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. What was I finding? I was just trying to become freer in my body and less tense. But if you don't have vibrato, there is no vibrato on your voice, it probably means that you haven't fully learned how to manipulate the muscles so that they are doing what you want to create vibrato, to create a free voice. Um, Coloratura, yeah, define coloratura. I still am searching for this, and I think I sing quite a bit of coloratura. But what really changed it for me was finding what breath can do for me. So instead of thinking like, oh, it's a lot of notes all at the same time, I have to change notes all like as quickly as possible. It's knowing the notes and allowing the breath to sing them for you. And just as quickly as that wants to happen, I think some people sit naturally at a higher beat per minute, as it were, and some people are lower. A friend of mine is always at 130 beats per minute. Just she doesn't try, it just happens, and I sit a little bit lower. Um, yeah, I would say it's the breath singing for you. Let's go with that.
That's lovely. That's good enough. I mean, there's a great vocal coach in Italy. She said it's like a buzzing mosquito in between the pharynx and the back of the head, and it's coming forward sometimes and going back, and the air just going in and out of that area.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, that was a really. It's
Oh,
just like
interesting.
chase the mosquito, until you get to the end of the line.
Oh,
You,
wow. I love that. I love
yeah.
that.
Well, let's go to
Cool.
our last part where you agreed to have a little bit of a song with us. So
I did.
if you want to have a warm up, it would be great to see you warm up and have a little, a line of an aria.
Absolutely. I feel like, not that I've sung it for ages, but we've been talking about Caro Mio Ben so much. I feel like I want to sing the first line of Caro Mio Ben.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Uh,
Caro mio
what does it start
bene,
on? I don't know what the soprano line even starts.
credimi
Yeah.
al men. Go
Here
on.
we go. Okay, you ready? I don't know how good this microphone is in picking up a singing voice, so we're gonna see.
All right.
All right. Caro mio ben, credimi almen, senza di te languisce il cor. And I think that was the end phrase, not even how it goes, but there you go. Caro mio
Yeah,
ben in
that's
five
lovely.
seconds.
One more line. You can't do the next line is beautiful.
How does it go? Caro mio ben, credimi almen.
Il tuo
Oh yeah.
fedel conspirano. Mhm.
Okay. Um, yeah.
Let's go from the beginning again. Let's do it. I'll do it with you, but I'll
Where,
mute myself.
I feel like I need the music. I can't remember how it goes. Oh,
Caro mio ben, credimi almen, senza di te languisce il cor. There's Carmo
oh.
ben twice, and then the
Yeah.
il. That is, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Il tuo fedel
Yeah.
sospiranior.
Yes. Okay. Oh, here it is. Here I have it. Okay.
Just for the fun, because you said you're gonna have
Yeah,
fun
yeah,
tonight.
sure, absolutely. All right, here we go. Caro mio ben, credimi a me, senza di te languisce il cor. Caro mio ben, senza di te languisce il cor. Il tuo fedel sospiro Cesto crudel, tanto rigor. Cesto crudel, tanto rigor. Tanto rigor, mio ben, credimi almen, senza di te languisce il cor. Caro mio ben, credimi almen, senza di te languisce il cor.
Well, what a way to end the episode. From one line, we ended up singing the whole aria. Thank you. So that's how we do it here. That's how we
That
roll. I
absolutely love it.
That was wonderful, Anna. Absolute pleasure to chat with you, and hope we can reconnect soon. We have so many great people on this podcast, and you're definitely one of them. Absolute pleasure, my
Thank you.
dear. Let's talk again soon. You've been listening to Hashem's podcast. We've been with Anna Trombetta. Have a good evening.